All right, Harry. The other day we got a question about how does the Ice Age fit into the Bible, right? And I was stumped with that for a second when I started thinking about it. Where does it say that the Ice Ages are in the Bible?
Yeah, no, it doesn't mention them, and but there is, and there is within our circle of people that believe, Christian people that believe that the Ice Age did happen about 4,000 years ago, after the flood, and say, well, how come it's not written about in the Bible? And that's kind of interesting if you think about it, because where the Bible after the flood, we read about Abram and well, that's really where the story starts off again. As Abram, he was in Iraq in that sort of area, and then eventually, or somewhere south there, and eventually worked his way into what we call Israel today. So that is in about 30 degrees latitude. Um, what does that mean to you?
It means like it's near the middle of the Earth, right? So it would be pretty warm. It would be a lot warmer there than any place where the Ice Ages would be. Is that correct?
That's right. See, the equator is 0 degrees, and the North Pole or the poles are 90 degrees. So 30 degrees, same height as Florida, roughly. The Middle East is, they wouldn't be affected by the ice ages. And really what happened, according to Christian teaching or thinking, this is not in the Bible, of course, but they said during the flood, what happened there, it says, well, first of all, in Genesis 6, 4,400 years ago, God tells Noah to build an ark and rescue his family of 8 and a pair of each kind of animal. So, and then we read in chapter 7:11, on that day, and that's the day after they're in the ark, is on that day all the springs of the great deep burst forth and the floodgates of the heavens opened. So the water came from out of the ground and from the sky, and just rained, and it came out of the ground, and just flooded the whole earth. Verse 19, all the high mountains under the entire heavens were covered. So the earth was completely covered in water. So how do we know? That sounds pretty wild. How do we know that that is accurate?
Well, in the chapter 34 of Genesis as well, or Exodus, sorry, that he says God says to Moses, write everything down I'm about to tell you. So we know God was there. We weren't there, obviously, but God was there and was able to give a history lesson to us about how this all went down. So he told them, write everything down that I'm about to tell you.
Yeah, so all the way from Adam and Eve till Abraham was all way before Moses. So the whole book of Genesis, from Exodus on, Moses experienced that. But the book of Genesis is a history book that God told Moses to write. So God was there. So based on our Christian history, this is actually history. So we have that part, not the ice ages, but we know what happened at the flood. So how were all the land masses affected? And the answer is there was a lot of shifting of land masses and so on. And as the water burst forth, we know that fossils are up into the mountains, some places, all different levels and layers. So all that, there was an awful lot of water shifted around. Um, and volcanic activity and so on. And a bottom line, there was a lot of warm water, is what we believe, from what Christian scientists expect, that the water that was on the earth was quite warm because it came out of the earth and the volcanic activity and so on. So the theory is that after the flood, the temperature was the same as similar to now, except that the water is warm. So the polar areas would they would be quite cold, but with all the evaporation that would be going on with the warm water, there would be a lot of rain. But where the clouds blew the water to the cooler areas, or when it got over the land, particularly, there would be a pile of snow, maybe 50, 100 feet of snow a year. I have no idea, but just a pile of snow. And so the snow would accumulate and condense and make ice. over the polar areas, and the rain would fall on the warmer areas. So the time of Abraham, that would likely be starting to stabilize about 400 years after the flood. And so Abram was exactly 4,000 years ago right now, Abram, Isaac, and Jacob. So so how come we don't read about it in the Bible? Because it wasn't at a latitude where Abram would even notice that, because and he was a shepherd, so he didn't grow crops or anything. He just had livestock, and he fed livestock grass, and it was kind of a year-round program. He didn't have haying equipment or nothing like that. He just was kind of a temperate climate, and he would just move his livestock around as they needed to. And so eventually, all this big, thick layers of snow, when everything got to about around the time of Abram, everything would stabilize, and then this ice would tend to start moving, and we have similar temperatures to what we have now, and the glaciers would move down, and all the stories we know about how they made the gravel and the earth and all the things that shifted and so on. So that's kind of the background for that. And I know we're not telling the story really well, but on YouTube, I saw a video there, which is really, really fascinating. It's called Is Genesis History? It was put out about a year ago. I've never seen a better documentary than that. It's about an hour and 40 minutes. I really encourage you all to look at it. It really describes it way, way better than what I'm doing here. But I really find this fascinating, how we think this has to be millions of years ago. That's not the story that the Bible would infer. Not that the Bible talks about this particular topic, but we do know the Bible talks about the flood, and we have all kinds of evidence of that. And Is Genesis History covers all that.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Harry.
Thank you.